Hello students, welcome back to our discussion of Chapter 6, Sampling. We're going to go with our last example, PowerPoint slide number 8. As it says there, suppose it's known that the 200 instructors at Riordan College watch television on average of 15 hours per week with standard deviation of 5 hours. So what's the probability that if we take a random sample of 30 instructors, that sample will yield an average of at least 16 hours per week? So let's go into our writing board here and let's draw this out, because we can assume it follows a normal distribution. So the population average is 15, right up there. And the question states right here, what's the probability that a sample average will be at least 16 hours? So let's put 16 up there. And we're going to shade in. It says at least, so that's more than. We're going to shade in all of this. So before we can start with the one-step process, well, let's put the standard deviation up there as well. The standard error, I should say, is 5 divided by the square root of our sample size. However, we have this extra number here. This is the population size. Because we have the population size, we have to adjust the standard error by that finite correction factor or amount. So we have to adjust the standard error calculation by taking the square root of n, capital N, population size minus our sample size. So 200 minus 30 gives us a value of 170 over population size minus 1. So 200 minus 1 is 199. So if we calculate this out, the standard error will equal the first part equals 9129, we'll say. 9129. And that second part, that correction factor, equals 9243. Let's put that up there. So that's going to equal 0.9243. And there's going to be some rounding differences. If you're using Excel for this, your answers will vary slightly. If you round to 3 decimal places, your answers will vary slightly as well. Review questions, if you're close, it's good. Same thing with the exam. If I see what you're doing, it's fine. The only time it's going to be a problem is with the quizzes. But I do specify how many decimal places you should round your answers to. But if you are, if there's any rounding differences, I always go back and adjust for those differences. So our standard error is going to equal 8438, we'll say. So now we can do the 3-step process. Z is going to equal 16 minus 15 divided by our standard error of the mean, 8438. We get a Z value of approximately 1.19. And then we find the area for that Z value, 1.19, which we get let's see, $1.19. Where's my sheets? 3830. So the area value 3830. Remember, this value here is always from the outside, or always from the middle outward. So this is 3830. We want that shaded in area, so that's why we're going to take that answer, or take that area, and subtract it from 0.5, which we get something like this. So we can change that to percentage, approximately 11.7%. Probability or chance that a sample of 30 instructors will show that they watch at least 16 hours of TV per week. And that is it for questions dealing with Chapter 6. Chapter 6, short chapter. We basically looking at calculating first. As always now, we'll have to calculate the standard error. Once we have the standard error, we can calculate, do the three-step process for Z to get that answer. If it's a backwards question, still calculate the standard error, but then we have to find the Z based on the area and then work backwards to find the sample mean. But generally, Chapter 6 is very similar to Chapter 5 in terms of the process, once we get that standard error calculation down. The wording more or less stays the same. The only difference is we're talking about a sample instead of one specific value.